Hi, everyone. Welcome to Walking the Talk. My name is Kwame, as you know. So, today we're just going to continue our conversation about how to raise the next generation. So, as I said in the previous video, we'll be drawing all our research from Erickson's psychological development. So, yeah, before we get into it, do you know anyone who can never make any decision in their life? They always need approval from someone to make any decision. What food they want to eat, clothes they want to wear, who to date, who to marry, um, everything, which school to go, where to work, whatever they have to do in this life, they need approval from someone. Someone has to tell them that it's right before they can make that decision. On the other hand, do you know anyone who thinks that the whole world needs to listen to them because they are the wisest person on earth and that they can make all the decisions in the world because they've been making decisions all their life? On these two sides of the scenario, we can trace all this back into the person's childhood. Now, Erickson says that whatever happens in a person's life starts from their childhood. So the other video I was talking about trust versus mistrust. So people developing trust in other people starts from very young age when they are born, 0 to 12 months. That's where it starts, and then you can build on it um, throughout their life. In this second stage, we're going to look at autonomy versus shame and doubt, and it's between 1 year old to 3, and this is where children will start learning to get to become independent on in some things that they do, and also become self-reliant in most things. Or they can have shame and doubt, and they will doubt themselves forever and ever. And if we don't build on it, and if we don't catch it on time, children at this age become just like that. So, how do we fix it? How do we make sure that children become autonomous and they can become independent adults in the future? At the same time, not becoming overwhelmingly controlling and too decisive because they think they have all the ideas. Well, let's look at this age and why Erickson says that it is a crucial age to teach the children about autonomy, how to become self-reliant and independent. So this age, first thing, children have begun to walk. So they know a lot of things. They can run, they start climbing, they start touching things with their hands. Now they're able to use their senses. In other literature, they say that children are now using their senses and their motor. So they move around with their bodies and they also use their senses a lot. So any good music, they love music, they love rhymes, they love lullabies, uh, um, and all that. They like to touch stuff. So texture is like something that pleases them. New textures. They like to feel warm, cold. It depends on the weather. Um, the sense of touch is one of the things. They like to see things. So most children, if you give them the chance, especially at this age, they haven't seen movies or cartoons or all that. They become so invested in that because they use their senses. Um, and many other things that they do. At this age, this is the time most children start potty training. So you can train them to control their bowels, and they tell you when they need to go and oh, and all that. And then also they have this is the time that they know, oh, I can decide what kind of shirt I should wear. I can decide whether I can eat this food or not. Oh, I have a choice. I can go out or I can decide not to go out. And it all depends on how the parent treats all this situation. So with all this knowledge and that a child at this age, 1 to 3, is trying to gain independence, they can choose a lot of things. They have choices. and then um, they start training. And the one crucial thing about potty training is that they can develop shame with potty training, or they can develop autonomy through potty training. And that this is all by Erickson's theory. Now, when a child messes up one time, two times, or a few times, we try to correct them and help them gain that autonomy, you know. And then when they're able to tell you, "Oh, I need to go," and then they're able to go successfully without messing up, you you encourage them, or you clap for them. Like for my kids, we clap for them. They're like, "Oh my goodness, the whole world is clapping for them," and it's just two of us clapping for them. And it's like a big step for children. And these little things that we do for children at this age goes on to their old age. So if you see an adult acting weird about um in a way, like the person tries to choose for everyone, they try to choose for everyone, they try to make decisions for everyone, is because they had too much leverage when they were a child. They chose everything. Parents allowed them to choose whatever they want, and it will affect them throughout. Now, you can also have a child who can never, an adult who can never make any decision because parents did not ever allow them to make any choice. So, as I was saying, children this at this time um, make um, choices. They choose. So, clothes, food, and whatever as a parent. Now, the reason why I'm looking at childhood is because we're going to build this up to adulthood, so teenage, and then the reason why we're doing this is to build or to fix the future. Because when a person, a grown up, has already, um, oh, Andrew, Kofi, welcome. We're talking about, some of you are going to have babies very soon. So let's talk about how we fix the future. When a person is old with a bad attitude, the person needs to have an attitude to change before they can change. Let's take a coconut tree, for example. Now, a coconut tree can grow straight up, or it can curve while it's growing. Now, if the coconut tree becomes like an adult coconut tree and it's like curved, the only thing you can do to the coconut tree is to cut it off. Some trees are malleable enough, or they are versatile enough that you can just graft and then you grow something like an orange tree. You can grow a tangerine on an orange tree because they give you that leverage to I mean give, give off like a different kind of plant. For a coconut tree, just like some adults, they don't have any room for improvement. They cannot change and they become like that. So for those people, all you want to do is to cut them off or let them be like how we let some people be. So the reason why we're fixing the future is because we will not be there, or we might be there to just sit back and look. So let's fix the future. So, how do you make sure that a child is independent enough and not overbearing? One, give them choices. Let children have some choices. Don't let them choose anything they want, whatever they want, because if a child wants to play with hot water because they choose, you won't allow them. You will not allow a child to hurt themselves just because they choose it. But you also want to give them a range where they can choose in between. Some parents are so loving that they dare not correct their children. They cannot correct their children. So one thing that you can do another thing that you can also do to help them with their um, what is it called, autonomy, is making sure that you applaud them, you encourage them, and then you also reward them for the good things they do. Any good step they take, you want to reward it. And this is how you build autonomy. Now, when it comes to clothes, you also want to allow them to choose. So you give them a choice. You want this clothes or not? Or you give them two clothes. You want this or that. Okay. They have option to choose between this or that, not everything else. Okay. This is very crucial because when A child is choosing whatever they want throughout their lives. When they grow up, they don't realize that the society will give them only few choices. You can choose this or you go to jail. They don't know that. So until you set those parameters for them and then they have it in their brains, they grow up, they think that the whole world owes them something. The world owes them an apology for not giving them choices and all that. For potty training, this is very crucial time. Now, for kids who grow up to become, like, let's say they grow to maybe 5 years, 6 years, and they're still not potty trained, this affects the children so bad. Potty training is very important for you, the parent, and also the child, because this is the time they can also build their autonomy. Now, we're talking about all the autonomy stuff. Now, how do you make sure that children do not become bossy and controlling and all that entitlement? Some parents have been giving kids whatever they want. This is at this age between 1 to 3 is a time that you can shape a child to become independent on their own. At the same time, respecting other people's choices. So be consistent with your rules. If you set rules that the child is not going to do this or that, make sure you are so consistent with it. It takes a lot of time. It takes too many times to correct a child. So every time a child does something that you have to correct them, make sure that same time you correct it as many times as they do it. Sometimes you want to give a little bit of leverage, give them a gap, but be consistent. If you say no to something, never say yes to it and then go back to say no to the same thing. Make sure you're consistent with your rules. And that means you have to set rules. Set rules on what the child should do, where they should go. My one of my rules is that my children will not climb chairs. I mean, now they are climbing, but when they started climbing, I was like, you're not going to climb chairs. Not now. Because every time they climb, they forget that they have just a small space on the chair, and then they fall, they hit their head, they hit their back, and it hurts me. So that was my rule. And every time they climb the chair, I make sure that every single time I take them off. They go to a time that they lost interest in climbing chairs. And that's what you want to do. Be consistent with your rules. The second thing is that you teach them gratitude. So all the entitled people in the world, because they don't appreciate anything in the world, they don't have a sense of gratitude. They're not grateful for anything. They get everything they want whenever they want it and however they want it. So when they come to the world, they expect the whole world to give them whatever they want. Make your children ask for things sometimes. Teach them to be grateful. Teach them how to say thank you and please. You ask for it nicely before you get it. And that is how the world is going to treat everyone, like all of us. When you want something from maybe your work, your school, you go ask politely. No one works for you. Even those who work for you, you have to ask them nicely. Otherwise, they'll give you a stubby job. And I mean, it happens everywhere. And this is where children learning. Everything starts from home, and it's at a very tender age. So teach them gratitude, um, and then also make sure that you are their best friend, but they should also understand that you are their parent. So some parents, especially those ones who have just one kid, or they have the last born who's like the last, like after so many years they have a last born, they treat these children like gold, or let's say an egg. They don't want the child to fall or anything. You're hurting the child. Make sure that you are their friend, but they should also understand that before being their friend, you are their parent. You are there to monitor, nourish, teach, guide, instruct, whatever you have to do before you become the friend. Now, if you become a friend to a child and then you're not able to correct a child, they'll become an adult and they don't know correction. So this is the second stage of Erickson, and it's telling us more about adulthood than even a childhood. The last thing that I want to talk about is that Don't be scared to say no to a child. Children will always make choices. Sometimes they are good choices, sometimes they are bad choices. Don't ever be scared to say no to a child because the world later on will always say no to a child. Which the children should be okay with no. They should be um they should they, they should embrace no as an answer. They should be okay with no. You don't always get what you want. I've seen people with their kids at Walmart, and you see children, a 4-year-old crying like crazy because mom said no to something, and they're just disturbing the whole shop. So, hey Betty, oh, I'm doing great. I've been a little busy, but I need to catch up and we get this going. A lot of us need this information. So thank you for being here, Betty. Um, yeah. So we're talking about how to raise our future generation, and today we're just talking about Erickson's theory. Two, there's this autonomy versus shame and doubt. So we don't want kids to grow up to be shameful and not decisive. They can't decide for themselves. Everything they have to do should be decided by someone. Or we don't want kids that is entitled and feel like the whole world should obey them or should do whatever they say because they've been getting things freely. We don't want kids that will grow up to become adults who are never grateful in a society. So yeah, being consistent, um, teach them gratitude. And the next thing is don't always be their friend. You have to be a parent. That is your first duty before you become a friend. And the last one is don't be scared to say no. If you have to say no 10 times because a child keeps, because they are very persistent, say no 10 times. Sometimes children also have to be redirected, because they go around, forget that this same thing that I was doing, mommy or daddy or my guardian said no. They'll go and come back and do the same thing. You have to always remind them that that is a no-no. That is a no-no. They're still learning the environment. They're still getting used to the society. And if you teach them what the society has to give them, then it will not be a shock for them. Because some people, adults, break down. They cry like babies when maybe they get a no for an answer. Let's say they are at the airport and maybe they're taking a drink to the plane, and then they say, no, you can't take more than 3 ounces to the plane. And then they just break down because in their whole world, nobody has ever said no to them. So don't be scared to say no to your children. I watched a movie that says yes, say yes. I think something like that. That the parents were saying no to everything, and this time, this one Sunday, they said, okay, we're going to say yes to everything, and it was just catastrophic. Saying yes to everything is bad. Saying no to everything is bad because we want to encourage children to make decisions for themselves, but we also want to discourage them having this entitled personality where they think the whole world or the whole family owes them something because they've been getting it. So, yeah, today that is all we have. Autonomy versus shame and doubt. Raise your children to be autonomous, to make decisions for themselves while respecting other people's view. Because in this world, we all live together, but we also live individually. What you do to your child right now will go on to happen to your children's children and the generations after. Maybe by the time you are gone, someone will mention your name with a big disgust because you didn't train their mama or their grandfather well, or you didn't do something right. We're building the future. And this is how we do it. We start from a tender age and then we'll start going up. All the things that children need to know or adults need to know are learned when they are children. I learned most things as a child. I didn't know. And my mom was just talking about it. I was like, oh, I used to do that. Yes, you won't remember, but it is ingrained in your DNA when you're growing up. So let's do the right thing. Let's help our children. Let's help the future. Most parents have failed their children, and you will not. And I'm saying it today that it is not too late. Even if you're old enough and you still think you you're losing a little bit of autonomy, or you're a little bit overbearing, you're controlling, now this is the time you can go back and still graft gratitude into your life. You can also say no to yourself on certain things that you keep doing. You can also look at other people. You're like, what would this person want? It's not always about what I want. What would this person want? When you're able to put other people's decision, or you put yourself in other people's shoe, you'll be able to acknowledge and other people, and then you will not try to be entitled or try to choose for people like how most of the people do. It is very, very annoying, very disturbing to see adults act like children because what they had to do as children was not addressed. So thank you very much for watching for today. We'll come up with the next stage, which is um, I don't remember. It's about work, hard work or something. But yeah, the next stage is going to be between 3 years to 6 years. What happens over then? What we can do to help children? I mean, adults to be better people in the society. If you don't get the right training as a child, you become a burden to the society. And we don't want people adjusting for you just because of you. We don't want people to be living their life because you, the only one person, feel entitled. And that's why we have a lot of KARENs in the system, and we have Karens in all forms. we have we have graduate Karens, we have doctors, we have lawyers, all Karens around because the training that they were supposed to get was not addressed, or they didn't get it, and now in their old age it's just manifesting. And they have the name Karen. I don't know who came up with that Karen, but yeah, we don't want any more Karens. We don't want any more bad people. We don't want people coming around to shoot other people because no one is regarding their opinion. Thank you very much. This is Walking the Talk. Let's do the right thing, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.